Hey everybody, how we doing today? Super beautiful day here in the Florida Keys. Wow, flat calm, bright sun. It'd be a perfect day to put the smack down on those permit, but instead I decided to come out to the reef. I still need to film a production video for the Yellowtail snapper jig, since the last time I forgot this camera, which has the microphone on it. So I want a good quality one that I can upload to the website. So that's primarily what I'm going to do today. Already ran out here past the reef to the seafloor and then to the secondary reef, the bar we call it. And I'm just sitting on the top of it. Out both sides of it is basically roughly 80 foot on the reef side, and then it drops off to 100 and then starts going down from there, going out to the ocean. So I'm going to anchor up and start throwing some chum out, get everything active around me, and then see what happens. We don't have any wind really, and it does not look like we have much current. So it might be a little tricky today. So, but you never know. So let's give it a shot. Since we'll be yellowtailing and chumming them up, gotta have the anchor. Does no good to drift around, so down she goes. It doesn't look like there's any current, which is not so great for fishing, but well, I'll see what we can do. Hey there. Thank you for taking a look at the Yellowtail Snapper Drift Jigs. They come in 5 different colors: chartreuse, white, red, pink, and the new glow. And they come in 3 sizes, starting with 1/32, 1/16, and 1/8 ounce. And what these jigs are designed for primarily is to catch yellowtail snapper here in the Keys and South Florida. So today I'm going to walk you through the general process of catching a yellowtail here in the Florida Keys on the reef. Now, the general process that we're going to be doing for the yellowtailing on the reef is, one is that we need to be anchored, stationary, because what we're going to be doing is chumming. And what chumming is that we utilize these frozen blocks of menhaden chum. They also come with like sardines as well, and some other oily fish. And they're basically ground up and then frozen into a block. That block is then inserted into a chum bag, which is just a large mesh bag. From there, it's dangled over the side and tied off to the side of your boat. And then as it defrosts, little particles of that chopped up fish start going and flowing in the water column, as well as all those fish oils. And as that flows downstream, that starts attracting all the fish to just downstream from you. So I'm going to go ahead and put this chum block over the side and just tie it off to the side. And that's slowly going to defrost and start bringing those fish in. For a rod and reel, I like a medium heavy 7-foot spinning rod with either a 3000 to 4000, 5000 series reel. Line, you can either utilize braid, 15 to 20 pound braid works fine, or you can go to mono, like a 12 to 15 pound pink Andes, which would work fine as well. I'll be using braided lines, so I'm going to have to rig a long leader. Yellowtail are very finicky, good eyesight, so you'll want to do, if you're using braided line, you're going to want a long length, at least 10 to 15 foot, even longer, of a mono leader. And I'm going to be using some 15-pound fluorocarbon. Now, because I have 3 different weights of the jig, how to decide which one of those weights to utilize? Well, as you can see, our chum is flowing out, and you can kind of see that's the trail that's sending all the food out to those fish, and those fish are going to start lining up, coming up and eating that. And what we're going to want to do is basically match that hatch. Today I'm going to be using chunks of ballyhoo. So for me to figure out which size weight to use, a lot of times I'll cut a little chunk of bait and I'll just drop it over the side. and I'll watch that bait because that is the bait that I want to mimic as I drift my jig back. Okay, not a lot of current. It's gradually going down. Definitely not a lot of current, so that helps me determine I'll probably be using the 1/32 ounce jig head. Now, as you can see, there's 3 considerable differences in sizes: 1/32, 1/16, 1/8. Now, the purpose of that exercise was to see how fast that current's going. As today, there's very little current, so even just that bait on its own is actually descending at a decent clip without any hook. So I'm probably going to use the lightest one because I don't want to have a bait that just shoots straight to the bottom where I think that 1/8 would do, or even at a 45-degree angle. Because again, just like anytime you're fishing, you want to match the hatch. And even though this is just a frozen piece of fish bait, that's what we want to match because that's what those fish are going to be eating. So I want that same gradual descent just like that bait is doing on its own. Now today, I could almost probably get away with just using a bare hook and the bait, but you also have to remember you have to overcompensate just a little bit because you're gonna have the drag from the mono leader, the braided line, and so forth. That'll affect that weight and actually kind of buoyant that bait. So you do still need something to help that bait trail down naturally. So I think I'm gonna try starting out with the 1/32, see how that goes. The other option for using the larger weights is bigger fish tend to stay at the deeper depths. They tend to be a lot more wary. The young and dumb ones will be the ones that tend to come first, and they just food, okay? But those get eaten or taken right away. But those ones that have gotten bigger have kind of gone through that cycles and know, hey, I know what this is. This guy is chumming for us, and he'll let those go until they get through and then maybe pick off the ones he knows for sure is a good, clean, solid bait that doesn't have a hook in it. So that's why we're gonna maybe run a heavier weight to get down to those bigger fish faster. So, but we've got 3 and then we'll play with it just to see how they're biting. The way I attach the hooks to the leader is very easy. I use a Palomar knot. You just want it quick and easy and solid. You don't need a loop knot or anything since we're not using live bait and there's no action on it except just drifting it back. So it goes through the eye of the hook one way, make a loop and put the tag in right back in through the same hole of the hook, eye of the hook. Then you're gonna have the bow on one side, the loop, and then the tag in with the main line on the other, and that hook is just free lining there. Then all you're gonna do is do an overhand knot, just like you do with tying your shoelaces. Okay, there you have that overhand knot. You can snug it down there, and then you're gonna take that loop, put it around the whole jig head. It's like that. And then you're just gonna snug it up by pulling the main line and that tag line. And that is it. Clip that tag end. And that's our 1/32 Yellowtail jig head, Yellowtail snapper drift jig. And we just gotta bait this guy up and drift it back. Now the baits that you'll wanna drift is of really not much importance. This is one of the few times that you don't have to be very picky about the bait. I'm primarily gonna be using frozen ballyhoo that I just caught. I also have some silver sides or glass minnows they call them. I've got some frozen pilchards, and I even have some frozen pinfish that I'm just gonna chunk up and just, because what they're eating is just ground up menhaden, so you don't have to be very particular in the baits that you're choosing to use. You could use squid even. Any of the frozen baits will work totally fine, so that part makes it very easy. Attaching the hook is very basic. You don't have to, they're not super wary. If you want to, you could definitely bury the hook, but I like to make sure that the hook point is exposed so you get a good hook set. And we're just gonna drift this back in the current. Now the key to a good presentation is that you're basically just gonna flick it out there. And then you don't want any tension in the line, okay? As soon as there's any tension in that line, that bait is going to basically stop mid-water column, and then it's going to tend to spin and look unnatural. We want to just mimic a piece of just the little cut bait just slowly drifting in the current. And a good way to make sure that you don't have any stoppage like that is to try to keep a little bit of a bow in your line. Okay, you never want that line to tighten up. So you just want to keep feeding it. You can have the rod pointing at it, because what's going to happen is the strike indicator is the line is just going to start running off. And we're just going to keep feeding it and feeding it. Keep that natural presentation going. And running out, close that bail and just reel. Until you get hooked up. And there we go. Around. Definitely got bigger. Let's see what we've got. Yeah. So the key thing is when you get that bite and that line starts running out, you don't want to try setting the hook. You just want to reel to take up that slack. A nice yellowtail. A beautiful one. Oh, and that's how you do it. And as you can see, that's that little 1/32. But even with this big flag yellowtail, you don't have to worry about these hooks straightening out, because these are those 7766D Duratin Tarpon hooks. So they're made for the big fish. So that's how you use the Yellowtail snapper drift jigs. And we're gonna let this beauty go. That's such a beautiful fish. Kind of rude though. Okay, I finished the promo video, so that'll be on Saturday, and then I'll post that to the website. Fortunately, well, the first one I drifted out, I just caught a little dink yellowtail, and the second one I caught a nice big one. I was like, wow, so super happy about that. But then regular fishing, nothing happening, so I went inside so I could be closer to the reef, and nothing. There's just no current, the water's dead. So I'm just gonna go for it. I've got chum in the water already, but I'm gonna freshen up, run another brick. I brought out a bunch of pilchards and glass minnows and other frozen bait that has been sitting in my freezer. I'm gonna chop those up and just gonna go for it. And we're out deep. So we're in 80 foot of water. Basically the reef's here, Key West is up here. This is the reef drop off. And then this is a bar, this is a secondary reef, and I'm outside that bar. But it looks like the current is running to the reef, so my chum should be running right over the hump here. So this gets up to around 50 foot, and then like I said, it's all surrounded by 100 foot. So it's just kind of a hump. So what are you to do? I've got all these old baits I just want to kind of wear through, so enhance the chum a bit. Looks like the current's picking up, so that's good. A lot to get in some bigger tails, although that one I caught was a chunker. Surprised about that, but I was out deep anyways. So those are the ones that are around. There's my chum slick already developing. Well, the reef sucks. If it wasn't for, I mean, I got one dinky right off the bat, second drift, got that nice big one that I'm going to use for the promotional. So that was perfect. That pretty much ends the day. But then I stayed out there and I fished that spot, nothing. Came into the edge of the reef, nothing. Went way out to the far side drop off, nothing. Came back on the middle, way up current so I could cover that whole reef area with chum, nothing. Nothing. Oh my gosh. So I am chumming up this buoy that has a knockdown tower, so it's a bunch of structure there. And I'm gonna chum this sucker up and do some inshore action because I need to be able to catch something. So let's see. Now I can already see the fishies are here. All a bunch of dinkleberries, but where there's little, there'll be biggers. All right, got something better than those juvenile yellowtails. What is it though? Ah, nice mangrove. Got that on a big pinfish head. That was on the yellowtail jig. Man, he swallowed that big old head. Give me my hook back. That was on the 1/8 chartreuse. And not too bad. This one's been living on the sand, it's so white. Use the big old head part of the pinfish. Those ballyhoos are too delicate for these guys. I think one's got it. Oh, there it goes. Oh, dang it. Or it was a toothy critter that broke. Nope, there it goes. Okay, it's taking it. Oh, that wasn't even close. All right, try that again. Big baits, big fish, heavier leader. Oh, one more time here. Stole it. Okay, last chunk of bait, Hail Mary. Something's playing with it. Run with it. Oh. And that was it. Just like that. Game over.